And good evening, and welcome to the February 28th meeting of the Murfreesboro City School Board. We're glad to have those of you in the audience with us tonight, and we're glad to have those that are watching on TV. At this time, we're going to stand, and we're going to have Hagen Fontaine, a fifth grade student at Irma Siegel, and Cameron Tooley, a fifth grade student at Overall Creek, to lead us in our pledge, followed then by our moment of silence. And we would ask that you remember Kelly Baker, who is a former attorney with our school board, whose mother passed away on Saturday. And now our pledge.
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now our moment of silence. Thank you.
To read. I'll be right back.
Members of the board, you have received a copy of the agenda. I'd like to have a motion to approve the agenda as printed, if so.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Long. Any question or comment? I see none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? And there is none. Thank you. Communications, Ms. Trail.
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
Have quite a few communications for you tonight, and I'll go fairly quickly. First of all, we want to start out with recognizing our building level teachers of the year. So from Black Fox, we have Carrie Newberg and Warren Fry. From Bradley, Marina Dupes and Stephanie Robinson. From Cason Lane, Tricia Lunte and Laura Kaler. Discovery, Amy Ritter and Caitlin Campbell. Irma Siegel, Ashley McCarver and Stephanie Fontaine. Hobgood, Megan Mayton and Angela Wilson. John Pittard, Jenny Beats and Tanya McLean. Mitchell Nilsson, Shireen Staples, Elizabeth Truesdell and Monica Amos. From Northfield, Donna Carr and Luke Dickerson. From Overall Creek, Katrina Gannon and Miranda Good. Reeves Rogers, Lauren Hill and Ricky Webb. Salem, Joey Gallagher and Lucy Abbott. And Scales, Jessica Uverard and Richard Alexander. We'll actually formally recognize and celebrate these employees of the year, as well as all of our employees of the year, at our Copper Ridge venue on April 26th. So you should be receiving invitations to that, but that is April 26th at Copper Ridge. Okay, moving on. Let me get to my next page here, sorry. Hobgood has a couple of thank yous that they wanted me to share with the board. Olive Branch Church sponsored their Rocket Shop, and the Rocket Shop is a store with parent incentives to improve attendance, and they also donated bikes as an incentive for students, so we appreciate Olive Branch and all that they do for Hobgood and some of our other schools as well. Bel Air Church for donating items to Rocket Shop and greeting students for High Five Fridays. And the Alley on Main for sponsoring their fine dining club with a wonderful meal, which was a real memorable experience for all of those students that participated. Also, thank you to Patterson Park Community Center and the Center for Fairness, Justice, and Equity and the College of Education for making large donations to our weekend backpack food program. Those donations are always appreciated and always needed. Thank you to First Community Mortgage for their coat donation, and I think we're almost through these winter months, so we appreciate those coats that we were able to share with our students. Also, congratulations to Ty Wallace from Cason Lane and Macy Greason from Bradley. They were chosen as one of Rutherford County's Farm Bureau's 2003 Ag in the Classroom Outstanding Teachers. I think they chose 4 teachers this year, 2 from Murfreesboro City and 2 from Rutherford County, so congratulations to them. Now, take time to mark your calendar. This Saturday is the gifted graduation, and you should have received your invitation with the schedule to go along with that. We appreciate you guys coming out and supporting those teachers as they get that graduation certificate. Monday, March 13th is the MCS Music Festival. It will be at World Outreach again. We haven't had this since 2020. I think it was the last thing we did before COVID hit, so it'll be a beautiful program with about 400 students kind of coming together, and our music teachers and our band teachers coming together to sing with one voice. So it's a beautiful, beautiful program. And then Thursday, March 16th is MCS's STEAM Festival. This will be our second year doing this. It will be at the UT Ag Center. It begins at 5 o'clock and will go until 7 p.m. So I hope you can attend. I hope you can serve as a judge maybe, or if you can't serve as a judge, you can just walk around and see all the things that are going on at that STEAM Festival. It's a great, great experience for our community to come out and see what's happening in our schools. And then Saturday, April 15th is Excellence in Education. I've already received several RSVPs from you guys, so we appreciate you supporting the City Schools Foundation. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Duke.
Thank you, Ms. Trail. As she stated, we're going to be recognizing all of our Educators of the Year formally in April at our employee celebration. However, tonight we did want to take a moment and shine a light on our district level Teachers and Administrators of the Year. So I'm going to ask Ms. Emily Spencer from Erma-Siegel and Mr. Don Barch from Overall Creek. These are our two principals whose schools host and have our district Teachers of the Year. So I'm going to actually ask Ms. Spencer and Mr. Barch if they would please introduce to the board and tell us a little bit about their Teachers of the Year who are now our district Teachers of the Year.
All right. Can they come
Yes,
over?
please join them as well.
Good evening, Board.
Good
This
evening.
is Miss Stephanie Fontaine. She is Erma-Siegel's Teacher of the Year, but she's also Murfreesboro City's Teacher of the Year. I was trying to think how I could sum Stephanie up without just keep making you guys sit here for hours, because I could speak about her for that long. And I have to say, she is an incredible educator. But aside from that, she has a gift. She is able to connect with children, show them their worth and their potential, and she walks and sits beside them as they reach that potential. It is just a treat to get to go in her classroom. First of all, she completely forgets that you're in there because she's just so busy doing her magic. But it is a pleasure to sit in there and watch the relationship that she has with children and how they just come alive under her guidance and how they truly believe in themselves because she believes in them. So this is Miss Fontaine.
Thank you.
I have the pleasure of introducing Ms. Katrina Gannon as a District Teacher of the Year from Overall Creek. And it's very easy to speak about Ms. Gannon. She brings all of those things that you like teachers to have that are hard to find, and then all those things that most teachers have. And so Ms. Spencer, it was interesting, when I walked through Ms. Gannon's room, it's not uncommon for her to say, hey, a couple hours later, were you in my room? And so she just keeps on going. And what she does with her children, she loves them, she pushes them. Her growth is absolutely amazing. And I look a lot for disposition and a team player in my teachers and that want to work together. And the disposition is hard to find, but not a Miss Gannon. And her work ethic and what she'll do for children. All of our teachers in Murfreesboro City Schools sacrifice a lot of things to be excellent teachers, but Miss Gannon goes above and beyond, and she's a fantastic leader for her team and for our school, but that leadership for the school is kind of behind the scenes, and so it's really thrilling that she was selected and well-deserved. So, Katrina Gannon.
Mr. Barch, before you sit down, and I want to say congratulations to both Ms. Gannon and Ms. Fontaine, because they will go on now to represent us at the state level, Teacher of the Year. And of course, last year, our district Teacher of the Year became the Middle Tennessee Teacher of the Year. So we are known in Murfreesboro City for the high quality teachers that are represented throughout the state. But I'm also proud, and I'm going to talk for a minute while Mr. Barch is standing there, because I want to formally recognize him for the board. He was recognized as this year's District Principal of the Year. We know Mr. Barch has worked in MCS since 2005, when he was hired as the Assistant Principal at Scales, and of course now serves as the Principal of Overall. It is one thing to say that Mr. Barch is highly respected by his administrators, but that's an understatement. Not only is he highly respected by the administrators in our district, but he is highly respected across the state as a visionary and an innovative leader, of someone who truly understands the importance of making sure our students are prepared for the jobs of tomorrow. He has received numerous awards for his leadership in STEAM, including the TSIN Excellent in STEM Leadership Award. Mr. Barch leads in a way that sets a high bar, yet makes all that serve with him desire to reach that standard. And I talked to some of his teachers, and this is what his teachers told me. They told me that Mr. Barch puts students first, he empowers them to try new innovative strategies without fear, and he trusts them to make the best decisions for their students. They emphasized over and over that their success with students starts with the culture and the climate that he creates in the building. So, Mr. Barch, I am so proud that you have a Teacher of the Year. We have two excellent Teachers of the Year, but I'm so proud to have you representing Murfreesboro City Schools, our District Principal of the Year. Congratulations. And we have one more, and then I'll turn it back over.
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
Good evening.
It is my pleasure to introduce to you April Savisa as the 22-23 MCS Supervisor of the Year. April has been employed with MCS since 1990, officially, where she has served many roles from administrative assistant for special programs, computer tech, attendance administrator, administrative technician, attendance and database administrator, to currently director of technology. And what I know about April is she has a strong work ethic and believes in getting the job done and doing it to the best of her ability. I asked several employees that April supervises to share with me some words that best describe April, and this is what I heard: dedication, loyalty, convergent thinker, creative, optimistic, dependable, hard worker, and understanding. One employee stated, and I quote, "April is the best boss I've ever gotten to work under in any job. I think she deserves Supervisor of the Year because she's the hardest worker in the department. Makes the job much more enjoyable just by being here." A principal stated, "April is always willing to help no matter the issue, easily accessible, works quickly to solve problems. All in all, just simply the best." So congratulations to April on being selected as this year's Supervisor of the Year.
Thank you, and congrats to everyone. We're proud of what we have in Murfreesboro City Schools, and it's well known throughout the state, and I think even in the legislative body. The best of MCS, Dr. Duke.
You know, we had a lot of fun tonight, and that's not even the best of MCS recognition. So we have lots of best of MCS. So again, I want to thank our district teachers of the year and our principals and supervisor of the year. We know that we're a great district because of who works in our schools and who works in our central office. And so tonight, for our official Best of MCS recognition, which we do every month, I am very excited to recognize an educator who has served with us for the past 14 years. And we have a large contingent of teachers, I think, from Hobgood here tonight. So a large number of staff from Hobgood, and they are all here because they know that who we're going to recognize not only represents the best of MCS, but the best of Hobgood. So I'm going to ask Miss Dee Dee Potter to come up for us. We are so excited to recognize Miss Potter as our Best of MCS recognition for the month of February. Miss Potter is currently the art teacher at Hobgood Elementary and our lead art teacher for the district. She was nominated for this recognition, and I love this, by her coworkers, who stated that her coworker stated that she is the first to say yes whenever there is anything that needs to be done. She is talented and giving of her time, and specifically pointed to the pandemic shutdown when she worked almost every day leading art classes by Zoom. Miss Lisa Trail often works with Miss Potter, and she stated that Dee Dee is not only a respected artist, but she is also a compassionate educator who goes above and beyond the typical school day to showcase her students' talents. Whether it's in the City Hall Rotunda, the Frist, or numerous other art shows around our community, Dee Dee is always willing to put in the extra hours to let her students shine. Ms. Potter is currently serving on the teacher advisory panel for Cheekwood, is the vice president of the Murfreesboro Art Crawl, and has served on many other communities in the committees in the art community. I love this. Because of Ms. Potter, and the board may not be aware of this, approximately 60 Hobgood families were able to spend a Saturday enjoying everything at Cheekwood at no cost to the families, to the schools, or to the district because of the work of Ms. Potter.
That's amazing.
In addition to leading standards-based, engaging, and fun art classes that students just love coming to, she puts in large amounts of time and effort to make sure the Hobgood Library is magical for their annual book fair. She gives up her weekends to complete the setup, winter program decors, and numerous other special projects. Her coworker that nominated her stated, and I love this, that walking down the hall with her is like being with a celebrity. She can't get down the hall without numerous hugs, waves, exclamations of Miss Potter. They absolutely love her and produce amazing artwork for her. She manages to do all these things with a genuine smile on her face, and you can tell she loves her job, her students, and her fellow staff members. Hobgood Elementary would be a much different school without one of the brightest lights we have. Not only is she making a difference at Hobgood, but her impact can be seen all over the Murfreesboro City Art Program. A fellow art teacher told me that Dee Dee is an amazing mentor, colleague, and friend. She is willing to help myself, fellow art teachers, and most importantly, all our students reach their full potential. Ms. Potter has been recognized in many ways, but she will tell you, as she told me, that her favorite award was the Above and Beyond Award presented to her by Dr. Gilbert several years ago. And I love this. She said, "To say that I have found my happy place at Hobgood would be an understatement." So on behalf of our district, I want to say thank you for the time, energy, and commitment you show your students. We are so proud to have you in MCS, and we know we are a better district with you with us. And as your fellow art teacher told me, Ms. Potter definitely represents the best of MCS, and art teachers rock.
I just want to thank you. I love my job. I'm very passionate about it. But my home is at Hobgood. It's just it is my happy place.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
All right, our spotlight on education.
Yes, sir. If I can get my notes back up, give me just a second. Over the past few months, we've hosted various groups from across the country who have come to Murfreesboro to experience firsthand what we're doing in the area of implementing high-quality instructional materials. So for our spotlights tonight, I'm going to ask Ms. Kathy Daugherty and Ms. Kathy Presnell to come up and share with the board a little bit about who we've hosted the last couple months, who we have coming, and some of the work that's being spotlighted on a national level that's going on here in Murfreesboro.
Absolutely. Good evening.
Good evening.
We have been really honored to host several groups. Most recently, CCSSO is a national group that came to Murfreesboro. They are the Council of Chief State School Officers. It's a nonprofit organization that spans the nation. So they have created a working group of 13 states who are really digging into this idea of how do we implement high quality instructional materials really well. They came to Tennessee for a convening, and Murfreesboro City was the school district they chose to visit to actually see what it looks like when it plays out in the classroom. So we were excited to host folks from all 13 states. I was able to join the group that came to Hobgood, and then Kathy Daugherty joined the group that came to Black Fox. Well, we were at Hobgood. We actually had 26 adults, so I'm going to ask you to keep that number in the back of your mind, 26 adults who came in from states as varied as Delaware, Maryland, and Texas. We were able to get into classrooms, so we started in first grade with Mr. Martin Ridgely's classroom, where the kids were engaged with a module around birds. We walked in as they were reading from a text about birds and feather structures, and then he released them to write, and it was a magical thing when the kids did it with 26 adults right beside them saying, "Tell me what you're doing, tell me what you're learning." And they did not miss a beat. Then we went to Miss Bailey Rose's third grade classroom. She's here with us tonight, where the kids were actually reading Peter Pan and Kensington Gardens, which is a companion text to the novel study that they do. They were digging into unfamiliar vocabulary. They were independently determining the meanings of the words. And again, the kids just didn't miss a beat. And then we kind of closed it out in Miss Nicole Bell's sixth grade classroom, where the kids were reading a historical speech that's also a companion text to the novel that they read, Two Roads, which is about Native American boarding schools. Kids were digging into some really hard questions. They were partnering up and having just really rich discussions. And again, the adults were just pretty much enthralled with what they were able to do. Then we all went back to the library, and Miss Bell, the principal, hosted a roundtable where the teachers and students got to kind of sit in the front of the room, and these leaders from across the nation got to ask them questions, and you guys would have been so proud of the professionalism and thoughtfulness that they brought to it all. As we left, I think a few things that really stood out that I heard in their comments were, it's pretty amazing how it looks when you go into a school where they are implementing high quality instructional materials with a high degree of integrity. But yet you still see every teacher's personality really shine in what they do. So every kid's got access to really hard and rigorous work, but the teachers bring their own special magic to it. They also said that it was amazing that the kids are doing the majority of the work. So we are putting complex text in their hands, we're asking them to do hard work, and it's pretty magical when you see them actually do it. So I was just incredibly proud to be able to showcase the hard work that our teachers and leaders do every day, and then to help folks across the nation see what it looks like when kids actually take that to the next level. Kathy?
Yeah, and I was also excited when they came to Black Fox. We had people from Massachusetts all the way from California asking questions of our students. They visited a second grade classroom doing foundation skills, really interested in the Sounds of First approach that the teacher was taking. They had not seen it before, was asking questions of the teacher. Again, amazing that we had 20 some odd people in the back of this classroom, and students were still continuing to be engaged in this work. And then really honing in on the fact that our kids were reading text and digging into text. We were also able to see a third grade classroom. Again, it sounds like the same lesson that Kathy talked about. They were talking about Peter Pan and really talking about the vocabulary. And then we went into a fourth grade classroom talking about the American Revolution. And they were amazed at the knowledge that the kids were displaying, what they were talking and they were discussing. And I think the thing that stood out to me, we also gathered at the end of that with students, as well as the teachers whose classrooms we were in. And one of the students, and I'll quote, the student talked about things about the curriculum that they liked, and they continued to talk about all the things that they'd learned and the vocabulary that they're learning. And one student said, "This curriculum provides us with just the right challenge." And so they were just so impressed with what the students were saying, what they were doing, and how excited they were about the curriculum. So it was really nice to spotlight the great work that's going on in Murfreesboro City Schools.
That's great.
And if I can add briefly before they step down, we have been, and I want to give a lot of credit to the spotlight that's been put on Murfreesboro City really around implementation of literacy is in large part, or I would probably say overwhelming part, to the leadership of Sherry, Kathy, and Kathy. And they have really taken that and really created, because when we look at these high quality instructional materials and we look at what we're trying to accomplish, we know it can be a heavy lift for teachers. And what Kathy and Kathy have done is they have tried to do that in a way to help carry that lift for them. And they do it both really, really well under Sherry's guidance and leadership. And so a lot of the success we're seeing that, again, is getting a lot of spotlight around has to do with that work that ultimately our teachers are doing every day, but a lot of that's being facilitated through that team. So I want to thank not just our teachers who do a tremendous job, but them as well. Tomorrow we're actually hosting another group from New York, I think, or New York is coming in tomorrow to see after the last group that wanted to come in. And so once again, Hobgood has been kind of our, Hobgood's a great little location for us. And at this point, they're used to them coming in. But so we're excited for it. But at the end of the day, it's not about the recognition. It's about we want to continue to show that we're invested in the right work. And we're going to keep pushing and we're going to keep moving forward because we know this is what's right for kids. And our goal is we want to move the needle for that on both of them.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies, very much, and everybody that's involved. It's, as Dr. Duke says, it's a pleasure to be associated with such a great group of educators.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may, I love the spotlight on education. That's one of my favorite things that we do. It's incredibly informative and indicative of what we're doing in the entire district. And to everyone here that was honored tonight, I want you to know that you inspire the board with your passion and what you do every day. You challenge us from how you go above and beyond every day. It makes us dig deep to do the same. You encourage us because we know the future of our community is in good hands. You are seen, you matter, and you make an indelible mark on the lives of children every single day. That's not lost on us. We rely on you to make sure that we do the best that we can. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you all.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion to approve consent items as printed.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Suttles. We have a second.
Second.
Thank you,
Amanda.
Ms. Moore. Okay. Any question or comment? I see none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? And there is none. Thank you. All right. Action items. Policy 5.117.
Yes, sir. As part of our annual policy review, we have several policies tonight that we're having some amendments to. And these all fall in our HR personnel category. Our first one, 5.117, governs our district's tenure policy, and this amendment just revises language for clarity purposes, and we are recommending approval of the policy as presented.
We have a motion to approve policy 5.117.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson. Have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Dodd. Any question or comment? I see none. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? And there is none. Thank you. Policy 5.302, sick and bereavement leave.
Yes, sir. Policy 5.302 governs bereavement leave for employees. This amendment is added to clarify and make consistent the expectation that when bereavement leave is taken, that documentation is provided for that bereavement leave. I do want to specify when we think about documentation what that looks like. That documentation is perhaps a flyer from the funeral, a printout from the internet. It is not a burden to be placed on teachers, but just for that consistency piece of something that helps us track when and make sure those bereavement days are done correctly.
I have a motion to approve policy 5.302, sick and bereavement leave.
So moved.
Thank you. Ms. Long, have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Any question or comment? Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So I want to bring up a couple points, and these are things that over the past year employees have brought to my attention, and they both kind of fall within this policy. So I've been talking with Dr. Duke over the past few months trying to brainstorm what to do about these, if we could find a solution. And it turns out 2 of them would fall within this policy. So I kind of want to bring up what the issue was that the staff member brought to my attention and a possible way we could tweak this policy to address it. So one has to do with bereavement leave. And if you notice, we have on, line 21 and 22 of page 2, where we say employees shall be granted bereavement leave up to 1 day per event in the event of death of a cousin, aunt, uncle, niece, or nephew. So
Where are you on page 2? I'm
page
sorry.
2, line 21 or 20. and
Okay.
22. So a teacher approached me last fall and said, you know, if you have family out of town, and those are pretty close level, a cousin, aunt, uncle, niece, or nephew, that often services span 2 days. Like there might be a visitation one day and then the burial the next day. And it would be really nice to have 2 days to be able to take for bereavement for that. So I've talked with Dr. Duke, and one solution that we talked through that might work for this would be to add something at the end of that line 22 that says you could have a second day of bereavement leave if you request it with the documentation that Dr. Duke just meant, and if the event is over 50 miles from your home. So it wouldn't just be for something local, but if you have to travel out of state or even, you know, to another part of Tennessee, for that level of relation, you could request a second day of bereavement leave. So I bring that up simply, I didn't just come up with it. It was requested by one of our teachers. So that's one. And I don't know if we want to do these by motions.
Let's do what each one.
Yeah, so that's one. So I would move that we amend this policy 5.302 to add a line at the end of line 22 on page 2 to allow a second day of bereavement leave to be requested at that level, showing documentation and if the event is over 50 miles from home.
I don't have a problem with it. What is the difference between that and taking a day of sick leave?
So teachers earn sick leaves 10 days per year. Bereavement leave is not earned. So we as a district, and I think Mr. Ringstaff pulled some comparisons around how our bereavement leave compares to districts around the state. So I'm going to ask you to maybe talk about bereavement and maybe how it compares to around the districts surrounding us. I will say though, but bereavement is, whereas sick leave, if you don't use it, you carry over. Bereavement, the board is saying kind of as needed in case of an emergency, here's days you could take that you may not then have to use your sick leave.
Yes, sir. Murfreesboro City Schools, we're very generous with our bereavement leave, along with Rutherford County. Most of the surrounding school districts only give up to 3 days of bereavement leave per year. So, but I like what Mr. Moore has stated with the suggestion, and it helps our employees, and that's what we're wanting to do.
And Mr. Ringstaff, this may be a question for you, and maybe a question for Ms. Williams, which I understand we're not going to be able to do tonight, or it may be to Dr. Duke. This is going to be on behalf of Mr. Ballard. Do we have a fiscal note of what impact that would have? And I imagine it's relatively low.
I agree. We will have to get a subs for this, but at the same time, we already have to get a sub. They're going to miss regardless. Whether or not they take a sick day, we don't require documentation for a sick day or something. So they're missing right now because of this. So we're able to handle it right now.
Very well. Thank you, Mr. Ringstaff.
Yes.
And Ralph, if I can clarify, one of the differences between our policy and maybe some surrounding areas, ones you looked at, is that in our policy, we don't limit the number of bereavement days or the number of instances. So if you have a year where unfortunately you have a sibling die and you may also have a cousin die, we would honor each event as long as that documentation is provided, and you know, because ultimately a lot that's outside of our employees' control.
Correct. Most of the school districts around us limit bereavement for 3 days a year.
Ms. Dodd?
I would support that, Ms. Moore. I agree with that. That's, I think that would be good for our teachers, employees.
So what you're saying then, Amanda, is that we allow 3 days for all these others, but and up to 2 days, death of a cousin, aunt, uncle, niece, or nephew.
Possibly. So you get the one that's here. If you need a second day, you would have to show the documentation, but also it would have to be over 50 miles away. Because if it's local, you could probably go to visitation in the evening, take the day for the burial, you know, just depending on what your family's doing. But it's really, the teacher who approached me, it was, you know, a relation like this out of state. And so she wanted to be there for her family for both events. And so she said, is there a way we could have two days when you have to travel and it's this level of relation?
Mr. Chairman, I think Ms. Moore has said this several times, that our budget isn't just a document with a bunch of numbers, but it's a moral document. And I believe that an amendment such as this is extraordinarily appropriate, and I would be in support of that amendment.
I think it's a fair ask.
I do too, I agree with it. I just want to make sure that there's not another amendment coming.
There is.
Okay, so I didn't know if we needed to do them all.
But it may be, it's probably better to do it separately.
I'm hurrying to vote for this, but I want to make sure that there's not another, because I don't know if we have to do another amendment and another amendment, or if we can do it all in one.
We must vote on this amendment as it's presented, and then we can look at the second amendment and vote on the second amendment to see if they're both amended into the policy.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Right?
So is the second amendment for this policy as well?
Same one, yes, but it's a different topic, so people may like one and not the other.
I don't know that it's required, but I believe it to be prudent.
To take
To
them in
separate the
parts.
two
Yes, ma'am.
amendments?
Two amendments.
So your motion now is to approve this policy with the added language at the end of line 22 to add the extra day with documentation that services were more than 50 miles?
And I would second that motion.
So the motion is to approve what Amanda has presented, the one amendment. Then if she presents another, we'll vote on it, correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So we have a motion and a second to approve the amendment that Amanda has presented, which says that employees can have up to 2 days in the event of the death of a cousin, aunt, uncle, niece, or nephew.
If it's more than 50
Considering it's more
miles
than
away.
50 miles to
If it's
travel.
more than 50 miles away.
An additional day.
With documentation.
I have a hard time with this 50-mile deal. What if the relative lives in Nashville, Oklahoma, that's not 50 miles away? Why do we have to say 50 miles? I guess that's my question.
So I will, in the conversation when I had with Ms. Moore regarding this, I think if they're within that 50 miles, that a day would be appropriate because they could get from here to Nashville for the funeral and back within a day. If they live more than 50 miles away, they may have to travel up the day before to get to that visitation that night and then spend the night for the funeral the next day. And the reason, I'll be honest, that we looked at 50 miles is it's consistent with the rest of our policy regarding overnight travel, which is 50 miles is always kind of the benchmark that we use for any type of overnight travel.
That's why we can't.
But I guess I don't know if what you're saying, Butch, is maybe 2 days is appropriate, whether it's 50 miles or not.
Yeah.
For a cousin, and I can understand that somewhat. I always struggle with bereavement leave because, let's say for instance, and at one point I raised my nephew, and if he were to die, heaven forbid, then it would be more like a son than a nephew. So it's always, whenever we do, and I know we have to at some point make a demarcation, but it's always difficult when we talk about bereavement leave because, and I'm sure Amanda's going to bring up another point. If she doesn't, I definitely will. But it's always difficult when we get into qualifying, oh, well, it was just your cousin, it was just your aunt. Well, she might have raised you from birth. So she's just your aunt. But I understand that. So I'm almost kind of with Butch that we can just say 2 days, 3 days for immediate family member, and 2 days in the event of a cousin, aunt, uncle, niece, or nephew, regardless. I don't know that travel has to be a part of it. You're given 3 days, well, because you don't have to take all 3. You don't have to take all 2. If someone passes, you don't have to. If you're able to go and come back, or really, a lot of times, the bereavement leave is not necessarily because I need to go to a funeral. Sometimes, especially we're talking about kids, siblings, this or that, I need a day to cry myself. I'm talking about me. It's going to take me a day to get my composure. So it's not all necessarily about the funeral or the visitation or I got to cook or whatever. Sometimes it's a mental health type of a deal. So I'm kind of in a different camp, in the same vein, but
Mr. Chair, if I may, I do want to point out there is a provision in the policy that does allow for additional days to be taken as needed under the sick leave guide. So whereas we have a very clear definition in our policy of what counts as sick leave, the following lines do specify if additional days are needed, the employee can take up to 4 without a doctor's note or anything like that. I mean, obviously we know if you have especially if you have a mother or a father or a child pass away, 3 days is not going to be appropriate. Our policy then allows for additional sick days to be taken on top of that up until if there needs to be, at that point, an FMLA, a Family Leave Act issue.
Well, where I'm coming from is the 1 day for the cousin, aunt, uncle, niece, or nephew. Why not give, why limit it to because it's beyond 50 miles? You have, let's say the funeral's in the other side of Nashville. Okay? This is a close relative, a close nephew or uncle or whatever. And you travel at nighttime or late afternoon for visitation, and you're going to turn right around and go back the next day for the service. But we've said because it is less than 50 miles, you can't use 2 days. That's my thinking, but.
It's the same reason we can't stay at Opryland.
I was just going to say, that would be where they would they could take the extra sick days, as Dr. Duke was saying. Like if they needed the extra day and it wasn't over the 50 miles, then they could use one of the, did you say 4 days?
Up to 4.
I believe the policy states
without an excuse.
The way the board has currently approved it. Yeah.
And I get that. I understand
that kind of covers it.
It does,
Yes.
except your sick days come out of your sick days. Bereavement does not. That's my difference. That's where I'm getting stuck in the molasses, is that I know I can take sick days. That's very well and firmly established. However, I don't want to feel like I have to take extra sick days. Just thinking from a different perspective, I don't want to feel like I have to take another sick day until I absolutely do. And that's my only kind of thing. And I think I've seen sick leave policies that adjusted for travel, whatever the relation was, that if you had to travel for it, you could get an additional day if you had to travel for in other words, if I had a cousin or aunt I was close to and they died and they lived in Alaska and, I got to go, so I may need another day of travel. So just as a general rule, not necessarily as it attached to those family connections, but if you only have a day of sick leave or a day of bereavement leave for a cousin, aunt or uncle or niece or nephew, but I have to travel, or the same thing for 3 days if you got, because we're very generous. I mean, we got brother-in-law, sister-in-law, stepmother, step-sibling, everybody in here. Well, we don't have everybody, and we'll talk about that later, but we've got a lot of people in here. But again, if the funeral is a long ways away, 3 days may not even be enough to get there and get back and do all the bereavement stuff. So,
Mr. Chairman, with the discussion that we've had at this time, I believe it would be appropriate to call the question.
Motion has been made to call for the question. We have to have a second for that, Elizabeth, don't we? To call for the question?
One moment.
I think
need
we
a
do.
second to call the question.
We
Well, I'll
won't.
second it.
Okay.
I'll second it one
All
way or
right.
the other.
So all in favor of the motion to call for question, say aye. Aye. Opposition? None, okay. Call for the question on the amendment that Ms. Moore has presented.
Roll call.
Right? Roll call vote, please, ma'am.
Ms. Dodd,
Yes.
Ms. Long,
Yes.
Ms. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Richardson,
Aye.
Mr. Settles,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
No.
That's 5 yeses and 1 no. The
Okay.
motion passes, the amendment passes.
All right. Your next part.
Okay.
And the only reason I did that was because of the 50 miles.
Oh, I
Okay.
know,
All right,
that's why
gotcha.
we're here. That's why we're here, to hash this out. I'm just like surprised we hashed so much of that. So now let's do another. Okay.
And that's just, is this first reading?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We got time next time.
All right, okay, so the second one, again, these are not just my own ideas, these are things that actual staff members of our district have brought to me. So the other was a question that someone brought to me that I didn't know would actually fit in this policy, but in talking with Dr. Duke and kind of brainstorming, and I know he brainstormed with his team about it, it may make sense to handle it here. It was a question I got from an employee who is not a Christian, but who said, a lot of our major Christian holidays are baked. We already have those days off. But she has to take a personal day to celebrate her major holidays for her religion. And she said, is there anything we can do about this? And I thought, oh, that's got to be an easy thing. Like, surely, like, big districts have figured this out. So I tried researching it, reaching out to networks, and it's surprising. It's not an easy question, which I knew it would not be, but also not a lot of great solutions. So I talked with Dr. Duke about it, said, is there anything we could do? Can we be creative about this? Because I get that. If you have to take a personal day, but other people don't, I get that would feel unfair. But how do we then have a policy that would be fair to everyone? So in thinking about it, the solution that we came up with, my second proposal, would be on the sick leave part of this policy that, because your personal days, you kind of like use them or lose them, but sick days roll over, so there's not as much pressure to use those, that we would allow a sick day to be used for a religious or federally recognized holiday that's not already in our calendar, and you have to give 5 days advance notice. So everyone then gets kind of a floating sick day to use if it's for, a federal holiday we're not off on. So Columbus Day, Veterans Day, Juneteenth, if you're a 12-month employee, or if it's a major religious holiday for you and we're not out of school, then you could take your sick day to do that. So it seems like a pretty good compromise to me to try to be as fair as we can. I mean, we have an increasingly diverse district and staff, and we want to encourage that. And so, to be fair and equitable seems like a good policy. So my proposal on this one would be to add language to our sick leave policy that would allow employees to use a day of sick leave for religious or federally recognized holidays that aren't already in the calendar with 5 days advance notice.
Ms. Dodd?
Are you talking about just religious holidays, or did you say federal holidays such as
Federal
Columbus Day
holidays
that we're not
also.
already not off of?
Right, so if you're, if you have a religion or you're not religious, and so there's that, and your religion's already covered with our holidays, or you don't celebrate, then we have a federal, you don't lose out on this opportunity to use the sick day for a holiday if you feel like you want
Okay.
one of the federal holidays off.
I'm okay with the religious one, the religious day, but not Columbus Day. Columbus Day is not a religious holiday, right? Or am I wrong?
You don't have to take Columbus, that was just like, I was trying to throw out examples of federal holidays where we're not off already.
Well, I don't know. Y'all, you can tell me how y'all think, but I don't think the federal holidays should be included in that. But religious, yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir, Mr. Settles.
a question. I guess it's a sticky wicket.
Wait a minute, are you offering this as an amendment?
Correct, yes.
We have to vote on the amendment first?
Well, she has to make the motion and have it
Okay.
seconded.
We got the motion,
And
we
then
have a second.
discussion.
We have a second on our amendment.
I'll second the motion, Mr.
Okay,
Chairman.
now, go David.
Thank you. I'm a little concerned with, how many religious holidays do we get off?
So the way our calendar is currently, our current policy has us for traditional 10-month employees as 10 paid holidays. And those holidays are Thanksgiving, the day after Thanksgiving. Mr. Ringstaff?
Christmas. Those two, because you work
Good
every other day.
Friday.
You don't get them.
Good Friday, Christmas, and several others. And when the conversation, what makes this a little more interesting is that those holidays are federally recognized holidays. They are also Christian holidays, but they're also times when we don't have students in the building. So our teachers none of our employees work on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve. They are paid for that day. You want to add to that, Mr. Ringstaff?
Correct. I mean, Christmas Eve, we start out Christmas, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, Martin Luther King Day, President's Day, Good Friday, Memorial Day, July 4th, Labor Day, Thanksgiving,
Okay.
day before Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving.
So out of all of the ones that you listed, the only one that I heard that's a religious holiday is Good Friday.
And Christmas.
Christmas is included in winter break. Am I right?
Correct.
It is a paid holiday. They are paid. Where our teachers are not paid for the 2 weeks off. They are paid specifically.
Okay, so I'll give you Christmas. So we have 1, 2, 3. And the reason I'm saying that is because, and we are a diverse area, we're growing and all those types of things. I know that maybe, for instance, let's say in New York, where they have a large Jewish population, I think some of them get off for Yom Kippur and all these different types of things because they have such a large population of that group, and nothing against it. I happen to be a Christian. I'm concerned that we may run into more and more religious holidays, and in our effort to recognize all of them, we're going to run, we may, and it may not, I'm just putting it out there, we may run into a situation because when everybody's off, that's one thing, but if one person is off, say it's a teacher, then we've got to look at getting a sub in the room, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's kind of it, and the fact that some religions have a lot of holidays, you know, and so I don't know how
Right, so.
how that works.
Could I respond?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so we're not saying you're off for this holiday or identifying this is a bona fide religion, this is a proper holiday. That's why it's got the flexibility in there. You get one sick day, you don't have to actually be sick.
Only one, you're saying one?
You get one,
Okay.
and you can use it for a religious holiday or not.
Gotcha.
And no one's going to question if are you really practicing?
Right.
You know, nothing, because that gets really sticky, and
Yeah.
that is a tricky thing. And if we start to say, well, your religion's valid, but yours is too fringe to celebrate, that no one wants to wade into that.
Okay.
But this allows people to have one day, because here's the thing, they're going to miss anyway. If it's really, you know, if you
Right.
want to be off, you're going to take off anyway. This just allows that person to use a sick day instead of a personal day.
So what I'm hearing is a floating holiday.
Floating sick day that can be used for
Floating sick
something
day.
other than sickness.
Floating sick day,
Yeah.
we're calling it a sick day, but essentially it's a holy day observation.
The teacher or the employee is using one of their sick days for this religious holiday
Instead of a personal.
instead of a personal
Instead of a
day.
personal day. And if I'm atheist,
You can take off a federal holiday if that's important to you, or you keep your sick day. I mean, that's the other thing.
It's not- you're not
forced to take it off
mandated to do
because
it.
you may rather keep your sick day than do that.
yeah, because if I was atheist, I still want Christmas off.
But because your sick days accumulate, and when you retire, they roll over to your retirement.
Right, understand.
Okay?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Richardson?
I'll just take the word recognition of a holiday, I think, is a pretty powerful word, and I don't believe that's been offered in the amendment. I believe the intent of this amendment is to have a more permissive sick leave policy, which would allow our employees to use some of that earned sick leave in a way that comports with whatever it is that they need personally, rather than taking personal days. So it may, in fact, have a large impact on different religious communities, but I don't believe the sole purpose is for the recognition of any religion or the exclusion of any religion, but rather being more permissive for each individual within our community and our school system. Would that be a fair statement?
I agree with that.
Okay.
I think my only concern, if we go the federal holiday route, you know, what keeps we want to take care of our teachers, we want to take care of our employees, and we want to honor their time. But what keeps 20 people in a building from taking off Columbus Day to use that that example.
I think our criteria would limit that because they can only have a certain percentage of teachers out of the building. Am I right, Ralph?
Personal days.
Yeah, okay.
Personal, that's sick,
But this would be a sick day.
No law.
which you can't control. But again, and there's a 5-day notification, right?
Yes.
All right.
I call for the question, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Dodd
So
first.
do we, I'm gonna seem stupid when I say this, but do we get Veterans Day off?
No, our students are in school on Veterans Day. Now,
Okay. Well, now that,
but veterans can get, by law, veterans do get that day off, and I'll let Ms. Taylor.
okay, so they already can get
Well,
that day
there was a
off,
law
right?
passed that said veterans can request to have Veterans Day off with advance notice to their supervisor. I believe it's 30 days notice.
Do they have to use a sick day?
No, I think it's just time off,
It's just
paid
time
time off.
Okay, all right, I just want to make sure. That was the one that, the federal holiday that stuck in my mind that maybe we do need to
Right.
give them off, which sounds like they're taken care of. So, anyway, that's what I was wondering. I just want to make sure that the veterans are taken care of. But the way I feel, I still feel the same way. I don't think that we should include federal holidays that were not off. I think it should be just the religious holiday with 5 days' notice.
Well, well, I understand what you're saying. We're allowing a person to take a religious holiday and use one of their sick days.
Correct.
Correct.
That's your second
That's what it
amendment,
boils down to.
basically,
And the
right?
federal holiday is included just in case, someone doesn't have a religious holiday they want to take off. They don't miss the chance to use a sick day for this.
So does your amendment include federal holidays and religious holidays, or just religious holidays?
The amendment I presented included the federally recognized holidays as well.
And religious,
And, yes.
okay?
And there's a motion to call for question.
There is a motion to call for question?
Mr. Chair, I call for the question.
Okay, all right. Do I have a second?
Second.
Now we have a second and a call for the question. Now we have to vote on whether or not we're going to call for the question, right?
Yes, sir.
All in favor of calling for the question, say aye.
Aye.
Opposition? There is none. Okay. Now, we now want to vote on the amendment as presented. And will you state that one more time,
I
please,
will.
ma'am?
We would add language to our sick leave policy that allows employees to use sick leave for religious or federally recognized holidays not included in the MCS calendar with 5 days of advance notice.
Can you say that one more time? Sorry.
I can. My motion is to add language to our sick leave policy that allows employees to use sick leave for religious or federally recognized holidays not included in the MCS calendar with 5 days of advance notice.
Ms. Dodd?
Is there any way we can change that language?
Question is already out.
It's
an
already
up or
out,
down
that's
vote.
it.
It's already out.
Okay, all right.
So we're going to vote on the amendment as presented,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
To you be able to use a sick day for religious or a federal holiday if so desired. Is that right, in a nutshell?
That's it. Yep.
Okay, all right. Call the roll, please, ma'am.
Mr. Settles?
No.
Mr. Richardson?
Aye.
Ms. Moore?
Aye.
Ms. Long?
No.
Ms. Dodd?
No.
Mr. Campbell?
No.
I'd like to make another motion.
Ma'am?
I'd like to make another motion to amend.
Well, if I may, under our policy, if all board members aren't here and a motion fails, it's deferred to the next meeting.
That's fine. It's a different motion, though.
Okay, it's not related, you're not changing.
Well, yeah, it would change this, but just to take out the federally recognized
All right,
holidays. It'd be a different motion.
So this
That not
motion
allowed?
that has just failed, we will vote on at our next meeting.
Yes.
And Mr. Ballard is here.
Yes.
Okay.
But I
So
can
it's
present
not in
another.
You can
concrete
present another
yet.
motion if you want.
I want to present another one.
Can I say this is the funnest board meeting we've had in years? This is
All
fun.
right, Ms. Moore.
This is not my favorite. Okay, I would like to make another motion that we add language to our sick leave policy that allows employees to use sick leave for religious holidays not included in the MCS calendar with 5 days of advance notice. So you can use a sick leave day for a religious holiday, 5 days of advance
So
notice.
the difference
Pulling
between-
out the federally recognized holidays.
All right,
'cause
the difference
I got
between
the vibe, that was.
the two amendments is you're pulling out the federal holiday in the
That's correct.
second one. Okay, all right. Okay, do we have a motion to approve the amendment as she has stated, allowing employees to use a sick day for a religious holiday if they so desire?
Is there any discussion before?
There needs to be a second.
Oh, we gotta have a motion first.
So moved.
Okay. You made the motion, Ms. Dodge seconded, okay? Is that right?
Yes.
1 day, yeah, could I clarify, one day of sick leave to be used for a holiday. I don't know that I was clear about that.
Now, is there any discussion? Mr.
A
Rich?
religious holiday.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Taylor, do we think there's any, are we getting into an area now excluding agnostics and atheists with this motion?
I mean, they would not have a religious holiday to be able to take off.
That is a fair response.
And can I add to that?
Please.
The 10 days are the 10 days. So even though they would not have that holiday, they still get the 10 days that they would use as sick days.
It's not an additional sick day.
It's not an additional sick day.
Right.
It's
Just
being
Taken
more
from that.
explicit in our
Sick day
language.
For this.
Yeah, you're using it, you just have to bring an excuse or anything like that.
Ms. Dodd?
I always think that fair is everybody gets what they need, not everybody gets the same thing. That's just how I feel.
It's equity.
That's the way I've always felt.
I agree.
Yes,
It's equity.
yes.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. Any more discussion? Repeat the motion.
I move that we add language to our sick leave policy that allows employees to use 1 day of sick leave for a religious holiday that's not included in the MCS calendar with 5 days advance notice.
Call the roll, please, ma'am.
Mr. Richardson,
Abstain.
Ms. Moore,
Aye.
Ms. Long,
Yes.
Ms. Dodd,
Yes.
Mr. Settles,
No.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
That's 4 yeses, 1 abstain, and 1 no. So the motion passes.
So to clarify, we'll vote on those again when all of us are here?
This last
Just
one
the one that
passed.
failed? Okay.
Just the one that failed.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Thank you.
Yes, sir?
I know we're in the weeds a little bit, but I have a question. We're still on the sick leave policy and bereavement. I want to deal with the bereavement area. That's where my question comes in. Bereavement leave, 3 days in the event of the death of immediate family member. Immediate family member shall include the employee's spouse. It's odd to me that it says spouse/legal guardians. Was that just a mistake? That there's a slash behind spouse?
Yeah.
What line are you on?
I'm on line 18, page 2. It says spouse/legal, like my spouse could be my legal guardian, which I'm sure my wife would love that.
It probably should have been behind parents.
Okay. The question that I have is, because we're very, very generous. I mean, there's a litany of people that you can be off for. However, it doesn't make provision for anything other than spouse. That's where my concern comes in, when we're talking about a significant other relationship. Is there a reason behind that? Can we not do it, or is it just wasn't included? Well, if nobody knows.
Explain what you're saying, because I don't.
Some people live together for a long, long time, and they never get married.
Okay.
However, you'd be hard pressed if that person died to tell me that I don't need some time off from work, but it's not in the provision. That's kind of my question.
So how you gonna add it? Live-in partner?
I don't know. That's why there's 5 lawyers up here. I'm wondering, because I'm thinking that, and we're legislating, we're making policy for today and for tomorrow. Today we may not have this situation, but tomorrow we may. And I'm wondering if it is not in our best interest to kind of provide for that. I don't know necessarily how the language should go or all of that good stuff, but I'm wondering. Because I've been married, of course, 30 plus years, so it wouldn't be for me, but I could very easily see someone that had a live-in partner for 30 years, and we tell one person, you can be off for your husband's funeral for 3 days, but this other person, she can't be off for her husband or live in whatever. So I'm just wondering if there's a way provision can be made, or are we not?
Ms. Taylor, I will yield to you.
I think Mr. Ringstaff wants to respond as a person who
Before Mr. Ringstaff gives something I'm sure is eloquent and wonderful, I think since we're coming back next meeting to talk about bereavement again, and we've got so many tenured teachers and wonderful individuals here waiting in the audience, and this discussion may go on for some time, I would ask that we continue our discussions at the next meeting. Now,
Are you putting that in the form of a motion that?
No, I'm
you're talking, okay.
I'm saying let's move it on.
Mr. Settles is correct. Our policy is very, very generous. And you are right now making me very nervous to secure substitute teachers with what we're doing tonight. So I would recommend that we keep the policy as been approved to date and make no more further changes. That's my suggestion and recommendation, because we are having trouble getting subs.
And as a practical matter, a spouse relationship is easy to prove. I don't know how we would draw a bright line for what constitutes a significant other. Do we set a time limit on the relationship? I think that language would be hard to incorporate into a policy, into.
And I understand that. I'm not, I'll say this like I tell my congregation. I'm not saying it's because it's easy. I'm saying it because it's right. I do understand that it's going to take some work. I definitely do, and I know we'll have to need subs. But my concern is this issue is going to come up. Absolutely. It's going to come up at some point in our future, if it won't be next week. So we don't have to discuss it any further. I'm good with that, but I'm just putting it out there. This is first reading, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
We got another time to talk about it. I'd like to see what other districts do.
As would I.
But, I'm dropping it for now. Just putting it out there.
I would suggest you get on the internet and ask other districts to see what they do.
Elizabeth will tell me.
Ralph has it, and I could probably guarantee you that they don't have that in their policy.
I bet they don't.
All right, moving on. If you're ready.
We need to
If
vote.
you're not, we're moving, ma'am.
Do we need to vote on the whole policy? We just voted on amendments.
Oh, on the, we do need to vote on the.
Didn't we vote on
We
it?
voted on the
We
amendment.
voted
The
on
language was such that we would adopt.
The policy with the
As
amendments.
amended.
Okay. That's my
Mm-hmm.
hope.
Okay, getting away from sick leave, how about personal and professional leave?
Could we move up the tenured teacher?
Can we do what?
Could we move up the tenured teachers, as Mr. Richardson said, just so we've
I
got a
forgot the
room full
tenured
of
teachers are
people,
here.
and this is really, we're being very weedy, and I'm taking the blame for that.
We love having you
We have a
here.
room full of people who are here for tenured teacher vote
Oh,
that might like
I
to go home
forgot
to their families.
Sorry.
If you want to put that in a motion and the board approves it, we can move.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir?
I move to that effect.
All right.
Second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, let's approve the tenured teacher. We just had one more deal to go.
Tonight, we are so proud to present the names of 40 certified employees who have met all the requirements to attain tenure under Tennessee Code Annotated 49-503 and Board Policy 5.117. We're proud of these employees because they've completed the required number of years with Murfreesboro City Schools and obtained an overall performance effectiveness level of above expectations or significantly above expectations. For the last 2 years, the approval of this tenure indicates that these employees are invested in Murfreesboro City Schools and have a record of success in working with their students. It is my privilege to recommend this list to the board, and after the official board vote, I'm going to ask Ms. Maria Johnson and Ms. Arnett to come to the podium to formally present these letters of tenures to our teachers.
We have a motion to approve the list of tenured teachers.
Mr. Chairman, I very proudly make that motion.
I was afraid. We have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Long. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Go, ladies.
All right, good evening.
Good evening.
All right, we'll get started. Our first candidate is Warren Fry.
There we go. Hey.
Ashley Love from Black Fox.
We love you, though you're not here. It's all right.
Michelle Mitchell, Black Fox. John Daniel Wing, Black Fox. Stephanie Robinson, Bradley. Allison Neveson, Bradley. Robin Throwbridge, Cason Lane. Jessica Wing, Cason Lane. Amy Walker, Cason Lane. Denise Perkins, Cason Lane. Deborah Kaiser, Discovery School. Caitlin Campbell, Discovery School. Michelle Lloyd, Discovery School. Jennifer George, Irma Siegel. Jessica Galagini, Irma Siegel. Bailey Rose, Hobgood. Kelsey Roan, Hopgood. Susan Junker, Hopgood. All right, we'll turn this way. Olivia Amos Wardlow, Mitchell Nelson Elementary. Heather Curry, Mitchell Nelson Elementary. Amy Oliver, Mitchell Nelson Elementary. Donna Carr, Northfield. Jillian Kinnemer, Northfield. Caitlin Anderson, Northfield. Daniel Holt, Overall Creek. Lauren Moore, Overall Creek. Heather Perkins, Overall Creek. Hannah Blanks, Overall Creek. Emily Edmondson, Overall Creek. Laura Christine Dillahay, Overall Creek. Adam Bryson, Pittard. Mark Harris, Pittard. Amber Robinson, Pittard. Brianna McClain, Reeves Rogers. Jessica Clemens Stanley, Reeves Rogers. I apologize, it was Jennifer Clemens Stanley. Cynthia Martin Salem. Paula Arona Scales. Candace Pinkston Scales. Rachel McElhaney Scales. And Jessica Jacobs Scales.
And again, Mr. Chairman, thank you for the vote, and to our teachers. Again, this letter of tenure really signifies we are so thankful for the service you've given to us and for the high expectations you've shown, and that it's our signal that we hope your journey in Murfreesboro City keeps you here for a very long time.
Right.
And I think Ms. Trail was like a picture of the group in the rotunda before you leave, right now. So.
Thank you, sir, very much. And thank you, teachers, for a wonderful
Thank you.
job. Well done. All right, back above then, Board Policy 5.304, long-term leave of absence.
I think we need to back up one more, Mr. Chairman, to 5.303.
I thought we'd skip that one.
Personal and professional leave.
Yeah. All right, sir.
This policy governs personal and professional leave, and the amendment to this policy adds a new provision. Under our current policy, each employee earns 2 personal days a year. If those go unused, they roll over into sick leave days. Under this proposed policy, what we allow is we allow employees after years of service to our district to carry over a personal day that they don't use. So that's been laid out. And we also pull out professional leave as separate from personal leave.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I move for approval.
All right, we have a second.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Richardson. Now, explain this a little bit slower, please, sir.
So with the personal leave, currently the way the policy was written is if you have 2 personal days, you get every year. If you don't use those 2 personal days, they carry over to the next year as sick leave. And a teacher can never have more than 2 personal leave days at one time. What this policy does is once you have long-standing service with us, and up to 10 years of service, it allows you actually to bank one of those personal days and carry them over. So you haven't used your personal days, you've been with us for 10 years, you could actually carry that over and the next year have 3 personal days that instead of having it roll over to a sick leave day.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Oop, I'm sorry, excuse me, Ms. Long.
Is there a cap on the number of personal days that can be accumulated?
Yes, ma'am. Lines, I think it's 12 through 15, spell out that once you get to 26 years of service, so this is someone who is close to their retirement age, if they have gone that long with us and have not used sick, they could carry up to 3 personal days over.
Okay. And is this does this cover classified employees as well?
This is for certified employees.
Okay. Is there any provision for classified?
No. And Mr. Ringstaff, do you want to talk about classified personal days at all?
Classified accrue 1 personal day per semester, and then whatever is not used, they roll over to sick days.
Okay. Thank you.
So these personal days that I've had, I got 2 this year. I didn't use them, so they're now part of my sick leave.
Right.
I get
Correct.
2 the next year, and they go to my sick leave. So where's this day coming that's rolling over?
Well, what's happening is once you get to 10 years of service with us, and you've had long-standing service with us in the district, and it's really a way for us to help reward long-standing service. If you did not use your 2 at year 10, you could roll 1 over, and the next year, 1 would go to sick and 1 would become personal, so you'd have 3 personal days the next year.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you.
And again, I want to be clear, the intent of the policy is to recognize our employees who have been with us for a very long time as we continue to look for ways throughout our district to how do we compensate teachers in a way and retain teachers that's not always directly about the amount of money in their pocket.
Absolutely.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor of the policy, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? And there is none. Thank you. Policy 5.304, long-term leave of absence for certified personnel.
This governs our leave of absences that are when requested for us. This amendment adds language to the policy which prohibits the use of asking for a long-term leave of absence to actively pursue other employment or work for another employer.
Okay. Have a motion to approve. Thank you, Mr. Settle. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Dodd. Any question or comment? I see none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? And there is none. Thank you. All right, math textbook adoption.
Good evening again.
Good evening.
In just a moment, I'm going to ask for your approval of the math curriculum that the math textbook committee has recommended. However, before I do that, I have to take a moment to thank Cindy Klisch and the committee that she put together to do this really important work. Lots of time and energy has been spent. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. No.
As y'all know, Cindy's retiring, and so I feel like I'm giving part of a little retirement speech, so I apologize.
Someone give her.
But I do want to say the committee she put together to do this really, really important work. Lots of time and energy has been spent making sure voices were heard from all stakeholders, including teachers, coaches, administrators, community members, and parents. So I feel it's important that you know how this recommendation has come to fruition. So I'm going to ask Cindy just to take a moment and share the process with you of how this went, and then I'll ask for your approval.
2.5.
1 minute, we got it. But I want to say thanks, Sherry. That was very sweet. But also the committee, the committee is the one that really has done a lot of heavy lifting. And that's why I appreciate the moment to say what they have done and what these teachers, and I hate because several committee members were here tonight being recognized, so that was exciting. But back last spring, so I'm going to take you back because we talked about this, the committee was formed. We sent an invitation to all teachers in the district if they would like to serve on the committee, that they could fill out the application, and it was really wonderful, the response that we received. So we did select 2 teachers at each school, 1 for K2, 1 for 3-6, and they were the core of the committee. We did invite other, of course, stakeholders such as coaches, admin, community members, and a content expert to really form this committee, and then the work began. It started in the summer. They started receiving training, and that was the math teaching practices along with the rigor of the standards. And Tennessee will have revised math standards next year that the curriculum is aligned to, so they received that training. So as soon as school started, we pulled in the committee immediately. They got to know each other right away with the math network leads, and they developed the math vision statement. And that statement was really foundational for the work that went ahead. And what was exciting about that is we paired with instructional partners. We were rewarded the math implementation grant, and they're the ones that said, when we meet with your teachers, we hear the math vision in Murfreesboro City. It is there. You need to put it on paper, like what is really happening, and that was powerful. So the committee members then had the vision statement. They met, they did the non-negotiables. What is it our kids need in a curriculum? What do our teachers need? And so therefore, when they met, they quickly eliminated some that the state had approved, but they did narrow the vision for the ones we felt worked. They then went to work on developing a rubric so that teachers could take that rubric and evaluate. And they aligned that rubric with the vision statement. And that was really powerful because every teacher received the rubric and an invitation, and every school had the printed materials there in the school. So they took several weeks, submitted the rubric, and we collected that data. The team came back together in December, and from that we were able to narrow it to 3 curriculums. So it was really based on this rubric and the teachers, what they wanted. After that, we came back in January, February, and teachers were again invited to test the curriculums. And the part of that was they had to agree to teach at least 3 lessons from each curriculum, all 3 curriculums over a span of 4 weeks. We did pull those, and we had over 20 teachers volunteer. I think that is, I want that to sink in, that number to sink in. So they came after school. We worked with them, the coaches and myself. We really dug into the curriculum, planned those lessons so that they were implemented in a similar fashion for across the district. In that time, I did visit classrooms, and the state released an instructional practice guide. So we looked for those practices that curriculum was bringing forward. The time that work was going on, at the same time, parents were emailed the virtual links for the 3 curriculums. They could view that online at home, fill out the survey, or they could come to the central office and the printed material was available. So they could come up. So they had 2 options of how to view the curriculums, and they submitted data. So after, I laughed because on February 9th, the committee we looked again at the teacher data. We looked at what the parents said and how they ranked the curriculums. We looked at the surveys from the over 20 teachers that tested the curriculum. And there was, and the instructional, where I went in and watched instruction, that data. So it was a very thorough process they went through. I think it was very rigorous in how we tested it, and that's how the textbook committee selected Ready Classroom as a recommendation to be approved moving forward into next year. So thank you, and any questions?
Yes, ma'am. Is there anything you didn't do?
Well, I don't think, it was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. But I laugh because I felt like the whole time I'm going, oh my goodness, y'all are amazing. That's what I kept saying. Yeah. You guys are amazing. Like, I did not anticipate any of this, and they kept stepping forward. And I'm telling you, we do have passionate teachers in Murfreesboro City. I will say that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, ma'am, very much. Appreciate that report.
So with that, Board Policy 4.400 clarifies that the responsibility to select textbooks and instructional materials as recommended by the State Textbook Commission rests with the local textbook selection committee, subject to approval by the board. So based on the feedback from the district's math textbook adoption team, we are seeking approval of Ready with Curriculum Associates as our high-quality instructional material for math.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson. We have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Settles. Any question or comment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? And there is none. Thank you, ladies, and thank your committee.
Thank you.
I know that's a long process. Approval of budget amendment, federal projects.
Yes, sir. Finance and federal program staff are presenting a revision to our consolidated federal program budget, which recognizes increases in federal allocations above what was previously approved by the board. The additional funds have been allocated in a variety of expenditure line items to cover costs associated with substitutes, equipment, staff development, and contracts with private agencies, and we are recommending approval of the amendment.
I have a motion to approve the amendment.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson. Have a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Settles. All in favor, any question or comment? I see none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? And there is none. Thank you. ESP budget amendment.
Finance and ESP staff are presenting a revision to our extended schools program budget, which recognizes a transfer of $516,000 from the ESP budget fund balance to the community services contract service line item. This transfer is for the installation of poured-in-place rubber safety surfaces at playgrounds located at Bradley Academy, Northfield Elementary, John Pittard Elementary, and Scales Elementary. This project was approved as part of our district's capital improvement plan, and we are recommending approval of this amendment.
Good.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Settles. Have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Long. All in favor, I'm sorry, any question or comment? I see none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? And there is none. Thank you. Supply chain.
Finance and School Nutrition are presenting a revision in our School Nutrition Fund that recognizes an increase of $265,000. This grant will be used to purchase allowable food products, including locally produced milk, and we are recommending approval of this amendment to recognize this additional fund.
Have a motion to approve the amendment.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Dodd. Any question? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? And I see none. Thank you. Technology budget.
We are presenting a revision to our general purpose program budget that recognizes a transfer of $80,000 from unassigned fund balance to the technology contract services line item. Funds will be used to cover one-time emergency technology expenses.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr.
I
Settles.
move for approval.
Thank you, sir. We have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson. Any question or comment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposition? And I see none. Thank you. Revenue and expenditure report.
Yes, sir. And as has been noted, Ms. Williams is not able to be with us tonight, so you get the privilege of getting the revenue and expenditure report from me. So please be kind with me in your questioning. I do want to point you to the first page of the comparison report and just point out as you look at this, this goes from our total revenue, our total income and expenses from July 1st, which is the beginning of the fiscal year, to the end of January. And what you may notice compared to other comparison reports is this is the first month where our income is outpacing our expenses. Of course, those of you that have been on the board, we know that's largely due to property tax collection months coming in January and February. So we would expect to see a large amount come in during that time. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have regarding the financial statements that are in your packets tonight.
Any questions? Have a motion to approve the report.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Settles. Have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Any comment or question? I see none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? And there is none. Thank you. All right, personnel report.
Your personnel report's been included in the packet, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Any questions on the personnel report? You've had a chance to look at it. All right. Enrollment report.
Mr. Marlin.
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'll draw your attention to the first page, the enrollment page. There's a little bit difference in that form tonight, but I'll draw your attention to the green line. Our enrollment at the end of January, and that's the end of the 5th period. Our 6th period will end this week, and next time we'll have an updated report. But through that time period, our enrollment was 9,389. To the right, those new boxes on the right, the first one's not new, but the other two are, shows that our growth, we're about 31 students under where we were at the end of last year, and we talked about that many times as we've reported this year. Our growth in the second box, our K-6 funded growth over the last year, when we look at where we ended last year and to where we are now, we're 40 students up. We're up by 40 students when we compare those numbers. And then finally, at the bottom box, our growth by period. So at the end of the 5th period last year, we were at 8,957. We're currently 23 above where we were last year. So that gives you an idea about that. You'll see our average attendance percentage was 94%. Our PTR page, I'll turn to that real quickly so that we can let everybody go home as quickly as possible. Our PTR, if you look at the bottom of the page, you'll see that our kindergarten through 3rd grade is at 18.74 and 4th grade is at 20.08. So those are good numbers. That's where we want to be. Turning to the next page, the truancy page, we have 209 students who are truant at this time, and that's a little bit higher than where we were last year. we are watching that closely, and Ms. Taylor and I are working, trying to get families in to help them overcome some of those barriers. And then the last page, the chronic absenteeism page, we're at 1,453 students at the end of the 5th period. So you can see that's actually declining. I actually took a peek today at some numbers. I think that number will actually go down again at the next period, so that we're on the path that we want to be as far as those numbers declining.
Thank you, sir. Any questions on Mr. Marlin's reports? All right. Summer school update?
Last time, I think this is the last time. I wanted to just give you a quick update around summer school. Summer school will be held this year, June 5th through June 30th, and it will be located at 5 schools: Black Fox, Bradley, Cason Lane, Discovery, and John Pittard, from 7:30 to 12:30, Monday through Friday. And as in the previous years, we will be providing breakfast, lunch, and transportation. Currently, we know we are receiving funding for our current 3rd through 6th graders, and we're cautiously optimistic that we will be receiving funding for our kindergarten through 2nd grades. Something that I am so very proud of, as of this afternoon, we have had 175 teachers express interest in teaching summer school. So just so proud of that. Registration actually opens tomorrow. We will be doing some videos to send out, definitely pushing the March 9th parent-teacher conferences so that teachers can help parents register for their students, their children for that summer school. But again, just looking forward to a great summer school as we've had in the past, but just wanted to give you that quick update.
Thank you, ma'am. Sherry, how many teachers will you use, do you think?
Well, you know,
I know that depends on the number of students you have.
Signing up?
I might.
We may have a spot for you. It's just going to depend. You know, last year we had 800. I'll look for that number to be largely more than that. The year before that, we kind of split teachers, you know, because we ran it a little bit longer, so they worked half-time and kind of job shared that. So I'm not sure that I can give you a number, but you know, we have the potential to use all of these. Now, I will say about 30 of these teachers are SPED teachers, somewhere around there. So
thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Ms. Moore and then Ms. Dodd.
Is this summer school the summer school that also will apply for assuming the law doesn't change, for 3rd grade retention? That's one of the ways to avoid being retained, right, is to go to summer school. Is this the program that does that?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
What is I don't know this, but what's the pay for the teachers for summer school?
So it is $50 an hour, so $250 a day. That's right. Yes. Yes.
And have we increased the locations, the number of locations?
We started off with 4 this year and went ahead and increased it to 5. We did.
Yeah, that's why.
Specifically around 3rd grade, just in case.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Director's update.
Yes, sir. And I have 2. I do want to piggyback since Ms. Dodd asked that question. That is an increase. We did increase teacher pay this year for summer school, which we're excited about and really excited about that work. And to also clarify, as Ms. Arnett said, right now the General Assembly funding only provides for that rising 3rd graders to current 3rd graders to 6. There are several bills that have been proposed to include and to provide funding for K and 2. And so we will be ready to go, because we are very optimistic, as she said, that that will pass, and to provide that funding for K2 as well. 2 updates I have. One is a reminder, I did send an email out about the March 21st budget training that is specifically designed for our new board members, but we would invite all board members who are interested to come to that. It will be our 2nd official meeting of the month, so you have information on that. And I did send an email late this afternoon. I just wanted to kind of bring your attention to is I have had the opportunity to have several conversations with some administration officials here in the city regarding space specifically for pre-K. You may remember that in the past we have had our pre-K students housed in the Mercury Court housing area, as well as Oakland Court. Through those revitalization processes, we've actually lost those spaces, and we absorbed all of those students into our schools, which we know are at capacity now. So through these conversations, the city has approached us with what we're calling a possible project of opportunity, because it was not necessarily on our radar that there may be an existing standalone location on the west side of town that could be used to help us house preschool classes, similar to what was done in Mercury Court and Oakland Court. I wanted to tell you we are still in the exploratory phase, but there is that possibility that there may be some grant money available to purchase that building for us, with us taking over the operational cost of that building. Due to the timing of the grant, I do expect it would move fairly quickly, so I may be coming back to the board as early as our next board meeting with some additional information and possibly even a vote, a request for a vote for that. So I wanted to flag that with you now. Of course, I'll follow up with each one of you as I have more information. There's not a whole lot I have right now, except to say the city has been really generous in saying, hey, how can we help you work together to help maybe solve this potential issue?
Thank you, sir. Legislative update.
In front of you, you have the 17 amendments that are on the table that are educational amendments that our legislators are looking at, that the Senate and the representatives are looking at. 5 of these policies are around the third grade retention law. And so those will be passed or dismissed. Around March the 7th, I'm going to go to Nashville to attend the general sessions and be a part of that. I would encourage you to review these. Your legislators want to hear from all of us and need to hear from all of us in our thoughts about the various amendments that are being proposed. So if you have any questions.
Have any questions for Ms. Long? We may have them later on after we go through a bit. Yeah, you know.
Well, a couple of these, well, 3 of these are from our own representatives, and so we're very proud of the work that our local reps are doing.
Okay, any other business? I have one comment I want to make. I've been on this board a long time, and you have been to other TSBA meetings, and you have seen how other board members react and how other boards are made up and how well they get along. I think, in my opinion, and I'm biased, but in my opinion, the city of Murfreesboro needs to be very thankful and very proud of the Murfreesboro City School Board that they have elected and put in these positions. This is by far the most well-organized is right. It's not my fault.
I don't know, were you here a minute ago?
Your fault. Well, you know, we discuss things, and if it goes the way we voted, okay, and if it doesn't, we accept the majority vote. And I don't think that's true at every board across the state. And many of you have been to TSB meetings and have indicated that to me, and it's an honor for me to serve on the board with all of you. And I thank you very much for your continued support for the students and the personnel of Murfreesboro City Schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Chairman.
Now, without any other further business, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Good night.
Good night.